Hey gang, it's Kevin here. June 26th. Um, June 26th, 2026. Got a grain update here. Um, this will be mostly review if you read my weekly report I sent yesterday. I had to be out here walking. We got a little touch of rain last night. It just feels so good, smells so good. We had to get outside. You're gonna have a hard time strapping me to the office chair today, so we're gonna be out and about. But so we've got the biggest concern right now is this: the weather is really taking shape here, and the models continue to be pretty solid agreement that we're looking at what could be a pretty long-term heat ridge right over the corn country, and pretty hot temps. I mean, there's plenty of water in most places right now, but once you get over 85 degrees, things doesn't get to saturate the plant, and it's not enough to keep the plant from stressing. So temperatures are advertised to be quite a bit above that, and even worse are your overnight low temps. And it looks like a pretty solid pattern, at least the first week or two, and then I don't hold a lot of faith in those longer term models. They just aren't that great. But the models are suggesting a cool wet Pacific Northwest and a very hot center of the country. So in the old days, markets typically cared about that a lot, and the corn market would essentially rally on any kind of pattern like that up until we got a major forecast change. Then they'd suck premium out of it pretty fast. But these markets are just different. I mean, we did close up 8 yesterday in corn, and we're holding ground today with wheat backing off pretty hard. These are just not the same markets that we grew up on. These are not the same markets from 2 years ago, and we can make the case that the wheat balance sheet, corn balance sheet, and depending on what China does, even the soy balance sheet may be contracting, but the market doesn't care. And I keep going back to that one oil analyst that was trying to make sense of the crude oil market when the Iran war first started, and he was saying these markets don't make any sense. We should probably be double this price, and considering the risk of the Strait of Hormuz there, and shoot, he just called them now markets. I mean, the market says, well, I can still buy crude today, so as long as I buy today, the paper market doesn't need to go up. And so we've kind of divorced what a futures market is and what they're for, and it's the way we shake out of this is there's got to be a supply shock sometime. There has to be a big enough supply shock to remember why futures markets are futures markets and cash markets are cash markets. And those, delivery points are going to matter. And, are we going to run out of corn and wheat this year? We don't know on corn. I mean, we just don't. I mean, we got to get through the weather season. There's certainly risk that going to have to slow demand down. Now on wheat, it depends how bad the losses were in China. The one negative in wheat is you're going to have a lot of export available wheat in the Black Sea. You're going to have a good Russian crop, at least in the winter wheat regions, not so much the spring, and good wheat in Romania as well. So you're going to have pressure on the Black Sea front. But the rest of the world is not that way at all. Not going to be that way at all. When the Aussie crop gets factored in, we'll see what happens to them this fall and their spring. And we saw what happened to our hard red country here in the U.S. It certainly didn't do well at all. Could be one of the smallest crops on the record. So they're going to have to feed some other stuff. Going to have to get some milo involved and some corn involved to offset some of the wheat and in the feedlots. So that they've been used to using. So that changes the balance sheet, and we're just now seeing the export campaign really ramp up for U.S. wheat, particularly white wheat and hard red spring. So anyway, to answer that question, are we going to run out? I mean, probably not. You really gotta, but at some point you got to reward the producer. I mean, here we are at $5 wheat, $5 to $6 wheat, and it costs us at least seven to raise the stuff, and we don't know what our fertilizer prices are going to be this fall. Input prices obviously not going to back off a whole lot, and at the same time, I mean, it's just, it's not so much your fixed costs. If you pencil it out with seed and seed, fuel, labor, fertilizer and whatnot compared to your income, you say, oh, okay, it's not, this works. But then you start adding your other payments. You start adding your insurance payments. You start adding your, do you have to buy a vehicle? Do you have to put tires on the vehicle? You got to put, I mean, the cost of living is just so grand right now that, man, you got to factor that in your budget, and it just doesn't work. I mean, we got to be north of 7. You got to be a net 7 to the farm to even have a chance. And the government's theory is, we sell it for $6, they pay us $1, then we get 7. It doesn't. Not very many of us are netting 6. And we're just not making any money. There just is no money in the thing. We did some forward contracts and prices were higher, but we didn't do enough. And how can you do enough when you don't know what crop you're going to have in the first place? So on and on we go. So anyway, so the other thing going on, I mentioned this in the report, is that the energy sector is really bizarre. You got a lot of industry analysts saying that the Cushing, Oklahoma storage facility is down to the bottom where they lose pressure, and then the sludge at the bottom of the tanks, and to where it essentially becomes inoperable till it gets refilled. And the supply shock, if there's going to be a supply shock, according to them, is going to happen right now. Within the next week or two, we're going to see some major hiccups. So we will see, because what's not jiving is the low demand theory. We have low energy demand because the economy is so bad, yet we have a record high stock market. So something's off there. One of those is catastrophically wrong, and we're going to have to see a winner here at some point. So that's going to have implications for us on the grain side in a big way when we get those ironed out. But yeah, this pattern, everybody says, well, shoot, it's an El Nino year, we got to have a wet corn belt, but that's really not how it works. It's a different kind of El Nino. You got some different factors on top of it. So where do we go with that? I mean, I guess you'll see. It's the weather. It's none of the long-term predictions have ever been that great. I think the Midwest has a 70% correlation on a ENSO. So when ENSO turns a La Nina, they've got a 70% chance of a drier than normal year. ENSO flips to El Nino, you got a 70% chance of a wet year. So that still means 30% chance it's not. And this is a different kind of El Nino. It's set up in a little bit different spot, a little bit farther east. So you're going to see a different result. And most El Ninos have a fairly moderate, mild summer in the Northwest, and thank goodness, because we had no snowpack, and there wouldn't be much left of the Northwest if we had a hot, dry summer. I mean, that could still happen, but the pattern going ahead sure looks favorable for trying to escape without most of our forest burning up. So it sure looks like a risky setup for me. I would not want to be short grain down here. Again, not investment advice. It's just there's got to be some risk in these futures markets that matters on the grain side, and we are just not seeing it. So the physical side has to blow open the paper side. The physical cash market has to lead the futures market. and that's going to take time, that's going to take demand, and that's going to take a product not being as available as the futures market suggests. And we'll see what happens, and we'll see how this corn crop goes. So that's all I got for now, really. Sorry to rehash what I wrote in the report yesterday, but some of you guys don't read your reports, and that's you know, you got, sometimes I got to step in and hit you twice with it. So anyway, have a good weekend. We'll give you another day.